What is up, guys, and welcome back to GameBird Weekly, Episode 3, the greatest, possibly the greatest podcast where we discuss video games, math, and welcome back! And so we've got an exciting show for you today. I am joined by my co-host, Colin. What is up, dude?
Not much. Here for some math.
All right.
Games, yeah.
And we've got some exciting topics for you guys today. We're going to be discussing the kind of sad news, depending on your views on it. E3 is dead. We're going to be discussing that today. We're also going to be talking about our personal New Year's gaming resolutions, some of our goals as far as video games go. And we're going to be kind of closing out the show with giving out report cards to Microsoft, Nintendo, and Sony. How did they do? How were their games this year? How were they as a business this year? We're going to be giving them a letter grade, so it's back to school for those companies. But first, I want to ask, what have you been playing, man?
So lately I know we've talked a lot about Yakuza on this podcast. I've been playing a lot of Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name. I think it's one of the best entries in the series in a long time. The main character, Kazuma Kiryu, hasn't been a main character in the Yakuza or Judgment games for quite a while. So yeah, it's been like a ton of fun. I'm really enjoying this one. I've pretty much finished up all the side stuff. Now I'm working on the main story. Yeah. What about
Awesome,
you?
awesome. Well, it's funny you say that. I actually jumped back in and started a brand new game on Yakuza 0. Um, I'm having so much fun. I love this game so much. It's so funny. I love the mechanics. Yes, the game has jank for anyone who hasn't played a Yakuza game before. It's definitely a little bit janky, but it's so fun, and all the positives outweigh the negatives so well. Please play this game if you haven't. Please try this series. Start with 0. It's fantastic. I've also been dabbling a little bit in Mario Wonder, playing that with family, as well as Pikmin 4 this week. So that's been a lot of fun. But yeah, Yakuza 0 has been the big one. I'm loving it. So,
So yeah, welcome to Yakuza Cast, everyone.
all right. Well, let's not stick around too long on that and move into the next topic. E3 is dead. It is gone. The ESA announced that it is no more. We won't be seeing any more of that. I know a lot of people feel differently about this, and for a lot of us, I know we've seen this coming for the last handful of years, especially after the pandemic. It felt like very hard to see how the ESA was going to come back with E3 after that, especially with the success of a lot of the big companies doing their own Nintendo Direct style presentations throughout the year. Colin, what are your thoughts on this? How are you feeling about the news?
I mean, it's always bummed to see like an event that is like a big for gaming fail. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but we've lived without it for at least 2 years now. So, um, and I mean, I guess it really doesn't make sense to have E3 anymore. Like, why are these companies paying them for the spotlight when really like E3 needs them? I think the writing was kind of on the wall even pre-pandemic when Sony backed out and, Nintendo really switched to like the more digital side, so it didn't seem like they really needed E3 to be like the event that they needed to attend. So, I mean, it's a bummer because it used to be like a really fun spectacle, but it makes sense. What about you? How are you feeling about it?
Um, I'm kind of I am feeling a bit sad about it, but I mean, we like you said, we kind of saw this coming. it doesn't make much sense for these companies to spend the money and show up to do something when they're able to have full control of the way they communicate and present their stuff to the audience via a Nintendo Direct style presentation. It is funny though, when Nintendo first opted out of doing the live E3 presentations and said they were going to present in a digital conference, a lot of outlets were saying that this was kind of a doom and gloom scenario for Nintendo, and it shows that it's a company that's kind of on the decline. It's funny how everyone's now adopted that, and that's become the future. But
Yeah. That was a bad take.
excuse me. But no, I'm sad. I have a lot of memories of E3. Growing up, it was something that I always wanted to attend, and super cool. You and I both got to attend a couple of years, right? Was it a couple of years, or was it just
So,
1 year? I forget.
so 2016,
Hmm.
um, I won a ticket to E3,
That's
and
right.
we went back and or don't tell the law, but he used my he used my pass, I used my pass. We switched off going inside and checking things out.
Yeah,
2017, they opened it up to the public, and we both got
we
tickets.
both went. That's right.
So,
So it was cool to finally realize that I see all of the issues with E3. E3 should have been, in my opinion, more like a PAX type event that's catered towards the consumer and really is there to get consumers' hands and eyes on all the new games and new hardware from the companies. Unfortunately, it was very much catered to the press in a way that didn't make sense to me because we can get all of uh, I don't know. There's a reason why Comic Con and PAX are still doing so well, and I feel like if E3 had catered better and made it more of a player experience where people can come from all around and play and experience these games, then I think it would have had a little bit more longevity to it. Personally.
yeah, yeah, I agree. And I think Summer Games Fest is just getting better and better each year, so I think they're ready to take up that mantle of kind of
Sure.
something more akin to that.
Right.
So, yeah. And so speaking of like our 2016, 2017 experience, I wrote down a couple notable years in E3 if you want me to go ahead and read off some of the highlights for those.
Yeah, please do.
So these were two of my favorite years. Maybe a little recency bias playing a factor here, but 2017 and 2018. In 2017, some of the notable things were Ubisoft did Assassin's Creed Origins, Beyond Good and Evil 2, which
Mm-hmm.
never really came to fruition, but it was a really hype moment when they played that trailer. God of War 2018 was shown on here, and Marvel's Spider-Man was teased. We also got Super Mario Odyssey,
Mm-hmm.
uh, Xenoblade Chronicles 2, and Metroid Prime 4. So that was a
Right.
great year. Uh, 2018, probably my favorite year for E3 of all time. EA did Jedi Fallen Order. Microsoft had Halo Infinite, Sekiro, Forza Horizon 4, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, Tunic, and they ended it with Cyberpunk 2077 the trailer. Pretty
Mm-hmm.
awesome. Bethesda had Doom Eternal, Starfield, and then Elder Scrolls 6, which wow, whenever that's coming, but that was pretty cool. The little title drop there. Square showed off Octopath Traveler. Sony had Death Stranding, Ghost of Tsushima, Spider-Man, Last of Us Part 2. Their set presentation aside, it was really weird from like all accounts from the press going
Mm-hmm.
from tent to tent, but still overall a cool showing for some of those games. And then Nintendo did the big spotlight on Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, Pokemon Let's Go, and then Fire Emblem Three Houses,
Mm-hmm.
all stellar games. And then a notable year for notoriety, we had 2006, which was the Ridge Racer moment.
Mm-hmm.
PS3 being 499, 599 for the different SKUs, and then the whole thing about maybe you should get a second job. That was great. And then who could forget historically accurate crab battles?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Favorite E3 moments of all time.
Yeah, E3 is filled with so many highs and lows throughout the year, and funny moments like that, like the Ridge Racer, like you mentioned. Um, even the Skyward Sword, if you remember Miyamoto demonstrating and the Wiimote not working because of all the cell phone
That's right.
interference.
And then
So
what
there
about
definitely there.
music?
Yes, you can't forget Wii Music. No, for all the good and the bad, a lot of good E3 memories, and you know now it's like everyone's doing a showcase multiple times throughout the year, not just the big three, not just Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft. It's also Ubisoft and companies like Devolver Digital and all the like across the board companies are doing these special events. So it's less and less necessary. Add on top of that what Jeff Keighley's done with the Game Awards, which feels like an E3, feels like an E3 more than a award show, to be honest with you. And then Summer Games Fest. So yeah, there is an overload of presentations and announcements throughout the year. It's hard to see where E3 could even fit in the mix with that. But I will say one thing that was really special about E3 at a time when we didn't have all these was bringing specifically those three juggernaut companies together in one space over a weekend. Now it's scattered out throughout the year, but when it was just E3, having the set Sony, set Microsoft, set Nintendo days, as well as all the third party stuff that happened in between those massive presentations was like it was like a Christmas weekend every year. Now we get like little bursts of Christmas throughout the year. So I'm gonna miss it. It another thing that I enjoyed that's a little bit different now without E3 is getting those instant hands-on impressions.
Right.
So many gameplay trailers. I do miss watching Nintendo's presentation and seeing the Treehouse Live right afterwards and seeing some of that cool hands-on stuff. I know the year that they announced, what was it? I think it was Samus Returns, maybe. The Treehouse was literally them playing the game
Oh,
right after,
yeah.
which was that?
Oh, sorry, you cut out. Super Smash Brothers?
No,
Or
the Metroid Samus Returns. I think they
uh,
announced that and
right.
Prime 4, and then the Treehouse was live gameplay of that. So there's things about it that I'm gonna miss, and again, had they found a way to cater the showcase to be more about the consumer experience
Mhm.
and a place where consumers can come together and celebrate gaming and play all the games and be there for that, I think it would have succeeded better. But it is
Yeah.
what it is. So, in memory of E3, we'll miss you. I'll miss you at least. I know some people are like good riddance, but
Yeah. I definitely will miss E3.
yeah,
Definitely great times.
for sure. But with that being said, I say we move on now to our next topic. And that's going to be our New Year's gaming resolutions.
Yes. All right. I compiled a list of New Year's gaming resolutions. I'll go ahead and start.
Excellent.
So one of the blind spots on my like roster of games is I've never played the Ori games. I've always wanted to play those, and with the announcement of their new game at the Game Awards, I'm blanking on the name. It's
Oh, shoot. Um,
No Rest for the Wicked.
no
There
rest
we
for
go.
the wicked. Thank you.
With the announcement of their new game, No Rest for the Wicked, I definitely need to play through their back catalog. Another series that I want to do is I want to play Messenger and Sea of Stars.
Hmm.
Um, I've never played the Pikmin game, so that's definitely something that I want to do. Another thing that I want to do is only buy games when I'm going to play them. I have a habit.
Mm.
Yeah.
That makes
Um,
two of us.
yes. And then my girlfriend, I recently started getting her into games, and she's been playing Until Dawn. and it's really made me just like want to play some of those like more story themed games I haven't played. Um, I know I need to play Vanishing of Ethan Carter, What Remains of Ethan Finch, and Gone Home are like three that are always talked about. So I want to do that. And then the other thing that I want to do is use Game Pass more. I don't feel like I
Mm.
use it enough. Like two notable games I wrote down, Fuga Melody of Steel, I really want to play, and Pentiment. So
Mm.
that's basically it for me. Like I just need to finish more backlog games and only
Right.
buy what I really need. What
Right.
about you?
That those are some good resolutions. I should have written some down, but I've got some off the top of my head that I want to share. First and foremost is I need to finish more games. I have a very busy schedule, so it can be very tough, and I want to try everything. So I play a lot of games. I dabble in a lot of stuff, and it's very hard for me to finish stuff. So that's a resolution to maybe play less and finish more, maybe.
Fair enough.
Also, I would like to. I want to play some more JRPGs next year. It's one of my favorite genres. There's a series that I love what I played of, but I've
Wow.
never finished a single game in. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Cool.
you go out. You said more
There's
JRPGs.
Yeah,
So,
more JRPGs. It's one of my favorite genres. There is a series that I love what I played of, but I'm yet to finish a title in the series. I'm embarrassed to say the Xenoblade Chronicles series. I want to play that. I watched you play a ton of three. I have not touched three yet. I played a ton of one and I played a ton of two. I've never finished them. So I recently picked up during Black Friday sales Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition for the Switch. And so I really want to play that, at least finish one Xenoblade Chronicles game. I also want to finish Final Fantasy VII Remake. I'm super excited for Rebirth. I think it looks phenomenal. We also have a lot of really cool JRPGs coming out next year. It's going to be a big year for JRPGs, not just the big AAA stuff, but also the smaller AA or single A stuff or indie stuff that you shouldn't overlook because a lot of those games, like Sea of Stars, are phenomenal. So I want to play through more of those because it's a genre that I genuinely love, and I would love to have a lot more of those in my bag of completed items. So
yeah,
those are probably my two big ones, and then this one's kind of a gaming one, but also kind of outside gaming. In regards to the channel, I want to be able to focus a bit harder on the channel. My schedule over the last year has been so chaotic that I've barely been able to do anything. We got this new killer show, GameBird Weekly, so I want to be able to do some fun and cool episodes with you on this show, as well as bring everyone at home really cool Nintendo based content. I know Colin and I have been discussing some episodes that we want to do for the new year that I'm really excited about, and we'll talk about when we get closer to that. But those are kind of my big ones. Anything else
nice.
that you wanted to add on that?
Just you mentioned RPGs. Yeah, next year is going to be a huge year for RPGs. Just want to shout out. There's a person on YouTube, not affiliated with the channel, but his name's the Kiseki Nut. He put out a great video on like the 40 new JRPGs releasing in 2024. I think it's a great video. If you're interested in RPGs, definitely check it out. It's yeah.
Cool deal.
Yeah, but those are good resolutions. And yes, the podcasting is definitely a big resolution for me too.
Excellent. All right, and with that, we're going to move on to the third topic for the evening, and that is report cards. You're back in school, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo, and Colin and I are here to judge. So we're gonna be grading three different categories for each company. Colin, do you want to go over what those categories are for everyone?
Yes, so first party, so like their first party games, so software. So that'll be anything that's published or developed by any of the teams that they own in-house.
Mm-hmm.
Third party exclusives and third party games and as well as third-party support. So that'll be anything that, is third party on their console. And then, of course, business decisions. And business decisions will encompass anything from releasing new hardware, what their showcases were about, basically what their plans are for the future as well.
Hmm.
So that's basically the three categories. And we'll be giving them a letter grade, and then we will be giving them a GPA. And that's where the math comes in, folks, for all of you waiting for the math portion of the show.
That's right. Don't you forget it. We bring you
Okay.
gaming and math on the fly because we care.
Yep.
All
I have my.
right. So who do you want to start with? Nintendo, PlayStation, or Xbox?
Let's start with Microsoft, the newest company into the fray.
And I'm gonna go ahead and say that probably the underdog of the three
Oh yeah,
companies.
I think Phil Spencer said as much in
Right.
interviews. So that they are in last place. Might not be in last place based on our scorecards, but let's see. Um, so first, I want to give a thank you to Game Rant for helping me find games really easily. They have a really good calendar of everything that's released and what consoles and what platforms. So I'll go ahead and start with the first party. I'll list off the first party games that Microsoft had this year. A little more than I thought. So they had Redfall, Starfield, Hi-Fi Rush, Minecraft Legends wasn't an exclusive, but it was a first party game that came out of their
Hmm.
company. Elder Scrolls Online, Necrom, Age of Empires 4, Forza Motorsport, and Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition all came to the Xbox platform this year. And when I'm talking about exclusives, I'm obviously talking about platform exclusives because everything that Microsoft does usually goes to PC. So I am just talking about console.
All
Um,
right.
so I don't know if you want to give your letter grade first.
I'll let you do the honors.
Okay. So, I will start by saying I really enjoyed Starfield. Um, I thought it was more fun than, some people were saying. I do think that the procedurally generated content sucked. It sucked. It just sucks. But the main story and some of the actual like by design content was really awesome.
Hmm.
Definitely the new game plus feature, the way that the story unfolds, just really cool. Hi-Fi Rush was another came out of nowhere, really awesome. Um, and then I didn't try Redfall. I didn't. Redfall looks really bad. It got very bad reviews. So that being said, I think I'm being a little generous by giving their first party a C this year.
All right. Um, very generous compared to what I gave them for the first party. Um, I gave Microsoft a D minus for that
Oh,
one. Um,
okay.
yes, I have not, so I'm not going to comment on Starfield. I know it's met with mostly positive but somewhat mixed reviews and critical opinion. I've only played the opening sequence of the game. It didn't quite grab me, but I do intend to go back and play more of that one. I feel like it's a game that I will enjoy. I feel like for me, it's probably going to be a game that lands in the low 80s based on what I've seen, like an 81, 82. But we'll see. I love a good sci-fi story. I like something a little bit more narrative driven, and I hear Starfield did good with the narrative on this one. Hi-Fi Rush was a huge win for me. I love that game. Cool soundtrack, cool gameplay concept, and gorgeous art style. Love that game. It's got tons of personality. It reminds me of games of the kind of like GameCube, PS2 era, which is really cool. I love that. So that was the big one for me, but obviously a big issue for Microsoft right now is that they just at this time they don't have the first party exclusive content that they need. And obviously, system sales are suffering on account of it. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna give them a D minus.
Okay, fair enough. All right, let's go to third party. I will name off a couple of third party exclusives, and then I'll list off notable third party games that have come to the platform this year. So, Valheim is a console exclusive. Last Case of Benedict Fox is a console exclusive third party, and Dune Spice Wars is a console exclusive. Um, None of those really like stand out to me. I know Valheim is a big game, and I know Dune Spice Wars did really well, but it's hard to say that like the console version of a RTS is going to be better than the PC version, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But good option for those that don't have a PC, you know?
Sure.
So here are some notable games, third-party games that came out for the console this year. I'll list these out once. These obviously came out on PlayStation as well. We're not going to relitigate it in the PlayStation. Um, Wolong Fallen Dynasty, Jedi Survivor, Diablo 4, Armored Core 6, Mortal Kombat 1, Assassin's Creed Mirage, Baldur's Gate 3, Dead Space Remake, Hogwarts Legacy, Like a Dragon Gaiden, Like a Dragon Ishin, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Street Fighter 6, Remnant 2, Sea of Stars, Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty. I will note that there are two games that I was surprised to see that were on the other two platforms that didn't make it to the Xbox, and that was Star Ocean Second Story and Octopath Traveler 2.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that being said, though, I mean, it's hard to. This is just such a stacked year for games. It's hard to give it anything but an A for
Mm-hmm.
third party. So yeah, A.
All right.
So
So my score for Xbox for the third party is just below you. It's an A minus, and the reason why I give it an A minus is because with some of the titles like Baldur's Gate, there was some performance issues that held it back. I know that there is a juggle between the two consoles, and Microsoft wants things to play the same on the Series S and the X. And I think that's great for the consumer. If you bought a Series S, you don't feel like you're missing out or you're being gypped. So from the consumer side, I see why that's a plus. I also see the downfall from the consumer side, where if you have a Series X and you want those games with all the features and performing the best, it's a big bummer for you. But it's a shame what happened with Baldur's Gate 3, and I think Starfield is another. Well, it's not a third party, but I think there's another game that had issues with, but I can't recall. But I know
uh,
from what I know, PlayStation 5 is kind of running things a little bit better on the performance side
yeah, the
because of
issue
that.
was with Forza Motorsport multiplayer.
Mm,
So,
that's what it
but
was.
yeah,
So
but yeah,
I'm gonna say I'm gonna give it the very highest A minus I could possibly get it.
fair enough. All right. So next up is business decisions. So these would be anything that happened during the year that maybe make us excited for the future, or things that they did that were great for gaming, or things that are going to set them up down the road. Um, so business decisions. They closed the Activision Blizzard King deal, which I think is a plus in their column. Um, Phil Spencer came out. He took admission of blame for Redfall and noted that they were going to be taking a more hands-on approach with future games, which I think is, a positive and a negative. Obviously, it's a positive that came out of a negative. They had one of the greatest showcases of all time this summer. That showcase was phenomenal. They've shown more than a strong commitment to Game Pass, and Game Pass is just an incredible deal. They've been working hard on targeting the JRPG market by securing games like what's the name of the game? Metaphor ReFantasia, showcasing Persona 3, the Persona 3 remake at their showcase. I think they've done a great job at just, garnering some more of that market that they were really was really their blind spot. And
Mm-hmm.
then a negative for them was obviously Series S issues and the decision to hold games like Baldur's Gate 3 did end up making it before the end of the year. I might have had to reconsider my third party A if they didn't get the Game of the Year on there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I think that would have been an easy business decision for me to just be like, just put it on the X. We're gonna
Yep.
just start into, I think it's good for gamers, the commitment to the S, so they don't feel like they lost their money on it. But at the same time, like I feel like it's giving Sony like an edge if if you're just so committed to that thing. So overall, I'm giving them a B.
Mm. All right. So I gave Xbox I actually gave them an A minus on business decisions. Um, I think they've been with Game Pass, like you said, their commitment to Game Pass is fantastic. It's such a consumer friendly proposition. Maybe for some people who are very casual gamers, Game Pass isn't a big sell because you might look like, oh, I only want to play like one or two games, so paying monthly for 100 games that I'm never going to touch doesn't make sense for me. But you cannot deny the value, and especially with huge titles, regardless of what you think of Starfield, but a title of like that caliber coming day one to Game Pass is huge. And we know, based on announcements that Microsoft has made and things that are in the pipeline, like Fable and other titles, that stuff is probably all day one Game Pass too, because Microsoft is pushing this service so hard. Now, where I am a little bit wary with Microsoft from the business side is it does bum me out that from some of the things that Phil Spencer said and some of the articles that have come out, it does sound in some way like there's a towel being thrown in of like, well, we're in third place, we're never going to catch up, so whatever. I I want I'd much rather hear from them and to be telling me the consumer like, hey, we know we haven't had the games, but like hold on to your horses because we've have some amazing first party studios now. We have some amazing games in development, and we're going to be delivering you all those first party titles that you guys have been missing. Instead of the messaging of like, you just can't compete with Nintendo and Sony. So, like, I understand they're in third place, they're getting their butt kicked by a large margin, but have that confidence, have that fire, and tell consumers, like, yeah, we've failed to deliver from the first party side, but we will. Like, part of these acquisitions with Activision and Bethesda and some of the other companies that was it Ninja Theory? Is that the Hellblade company?
Yep.
Ninja Theory, like these are going to be delivering in full force, and we promise you that when it comes to quality first party games, we're going to be sitting right next to Nintendo and PlayStation. So I wish they had more of that message instead of kind of like, we lost that a long time ago, so we're just Game Pass is the focus. The other thing that's bugging me is stop releasing crazy controllers made of chocolate and denim and pizza smell. Like, put the money towards the games. Like,
That
we
early Xbox was pretty sweet looking though.
no, some of them are cool. I will give them that. It's so ridiculous how many controllers. It's funny they've taken like they're kind of like how Nintendo used to be with controllers. Nintendo's kind of ditched that. We get Joy-Con colors, but Microsoft has really taken the mantle of weird themed accessories. I mean, I'd put a chocolate controller right up there next to Nintendo selling cardboard to people with Labo. But
Yeah, that's true. I'll
but
agree
yeah,
with
but yeah,
I think
I'm gonna give Microsoft an A minus for business. Again, I think they've had some pitfalls. I think they've had some oof moments, but I think they're like you said. Phil Spencer came out. He apologized for Redfall. There's a lot to be excited about, and after we give all our grades, we could talk about what we're excited for with each of these companies. But I think without saying any of that right now, I think there's a lot to be excited about as a Microsoft fan, or sorry, for Microsoft fans. I'm slowly becoming a Microsoft fan. I'm not quite there yet, but
Yeah, I'm just a fan of gaming, and
yeah.
the more games that I can play on different consoles, the better. So, uh,
Amen.
overall, minuses notwithstanding, for weight, we both gave them a 3.0 this year.
Mm,
Not bad, not bad. I mean, they're not on honor roll, but
yeah.
not bad overall.
All right.
All right, let's move on to Sony. All right, so for first party, we got Horizon Call of the Mountain, Spider-Man 2, and Last of Us Remake on PC. I think I'm being very generous here. I think Spider-Man 2 is carrying the company on their shoulders. I'm going to give them a C.
Mm. I'm giving Sony a C minus
Okay.
on that one. And again, because of Spider-Man. Spider-Man, obviously it was nominated for Game of the Year this year, so that is a juggernaut caliber title. I have not played Spider-Man 2 myself. The game looks fantastic.
Mhm.
And yeah, it like that is high caliber. I know I'm not a Horizon fan, so for me that one doesn't do it. I'm not going to sit here and say Horizon's a bad game. I know Horizon is a good series. It's just it's not a series for me. It doesn't it doesn't scratch the itch thematically and story wise
Cut out.
that oh it doesn't scratch the itch thematically and story wise that I look for in those kind of games.
Yes, and just to be clear, this is Horizon Call of the Mountain, the VR game that was exclusive. Okay,
Yep.
I'll
Yep.
make sure. Yep. So, yeah, not much on the first party end, but yeah, Spider-Man 2 does carry it this year. All right, moving on to third party. Um, so all those games I listed before that were third party for Xbox, including Final Fantasy 16, which was a third party exclusive, Forspoken, which was a third party exclusive, Chia, which won was it Games for Impact, third party exclusive, and then Honkai Star Rail, which won Best Mobile Game, was a console exclusive. So, that being said, they absolutely get an A this year. I mean, all the games ran, with the exception of Star Wars Jedi Survivor, all the games ran better on
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation, on Xbox, and I gave Xbox an A. So yes, absolutely an A for Sony on the third party front this year. Third party carried them.
Yep. I'm actually gonna give Sony a little bit higher. I'm gonna give them an A plus. I think as far as like third party stuff, they get pretty much everything, with the exception of some indie titles that haven't been really showing up on PlayStation platforms. Um, but no, they've there's everything to choose from, and they look amazing, and they run amazing, and I know you weren't the biggest fan of Final Fantasy 16, but as a
No,
third party exclusive, it was nominated for not just Game of the Year, but also a handful of Game of the Year awards. So,
it didn't make Game of the
oh,
Year.
sorry, not Game of the Year. Sorry, a handful of Game
Yes.
of the Year awards.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah.
So
Okay.
yes, A plus for them
All
there.
right. Moving on to business decisions. All right. So here are the highlights. Bungie deal, um, with completely unreasonable uh, sales targets, caused a bunch of layoffs. PSVR 2, games as service push, PlayStation Portal, terrible PlayStation Showcase, really big push into roguelite modes in their existing games. Gran Turismo movie, Uncharted movie, Twisted Metal TV show, PlayStation Slim, PS5 Slims, and the DualSense Edge. I'm giving Sony an F. This has just been the news that just keeps coming out of there has just been awful. I do not see this games as service thing working out at all. I think they are just trying to chase. a Fortnite, and I just don't think it's going to happen. Um, yeah, the games that serve the PlayStation Showcase, which are usually some of the most awesome events, was just lackluster, filled with extraction shooters and like just teaser trailers for games that don't like for multiplayer games that just don't even make any sense. It is absolutely a terrible year for Sony. And then just all the stuff with the Activision Blizzard King deal, all the stuff coming out, like their vehemence against anything like Game Pass, the pricing tiers for their PlayStation Online, confusing as hell. I don't know what they're doing. It feels like PS3 era all over again. So yeah, big F for them.
All right, so I gave them a D minus. So I did a little bit better than you. I was scared to give them an F. I was scared Sony would come after me. I'm gonna give them a D minus. And just to set the record straight, I love the PlayStation. It is a close second. Like Nintendo's, or it's not a close second, but it is a second. I'm kind of a Nintendo. I'm a little bit of a Nintendo fanboy. But I will be critical of Nintendo, and I will question them when I think they're doing dumb things and making bad decisions. So don't expect bias. But Nintendo is my favorite of the three. I play more Nintendo than any of the other consoles, but I love Sony. And the PS2 and the PlayStation 4 are two of my favorite consoles of all time. I've been very disappointed this generation from Sony. Their business practices, I'm giving them a D minus, the very lowest D minus possible. I hate that they've spent money and making PSVR 2 and given no one a reason to want it or have it. It has such a huge barrier of entry. It's tethered to the PlayStation 5, so you have to drop $1,000 just to get the thing. It's not backwards compatible. It's not, which isn't very consumer friendly. And then for all the people who jumped in excited when it was new, who were banking on the promise of an exciting new VR console, are all sitting around waiting like, when are we getting the big killer IP? And I get they are doing virtual reality ports of games that are already out, but like, where's the cool new stuff that is only made possible on PSVR 2? Why do I need the PSVR 2? I can't answer that question, and it seems like Sony can't answer it either because they're not telling you.
Mm.
Um,
The fact that
play. Go ahead.
sorry, the
No, no, go
fact that
ahead.
it's not backwards compatible is completely baffling. Like, yeah, I had initially thought that like giving up out those free PSVR games was going to pay off, each month with the PlayStation Plus. Nope,
Yeah,
no
and
backwards. Yeah, trash.
like, and I get it. It's a fantastic piece of tech, and it's powerful, and it can do so much more than the PSVR 1 can do. But power isn't everything, and the Switch is proof of that. When you look at the Switch being on its basically its seventh year and still outselling, new consoles on certain months is remarkable. But it's because they've got the software, and I do understand that the hardware is important, but software is arguably more important. You're only as good as the games that you have, and the PSVR 2 doesn't have the games. Then there's the Portal, another extremely expensive device. And, well, okay, I take that back. Not extremely expensive, but another overpriced device, in my opinion, that's suited for a very niche market. And I still, despite it getting really good critical reviews, I get the tech is very impressive. The screen is very nice. It uses the DualSense, which is comfortable. It's a nice controller. I just don't understand what it's for. And I think it's going to be one of those devices that people love the first couple months they have, that probably ends up getting shelved and not used very much. The fact that it doesn't have any software specifically for it and it is tethered to your PlayStation. If you're in a household and you have one PlayStation and multiple people use that PlayStation, you're not going to be using that thing much. Also, it does need Wi-Fi, so you can't use it when you travel. It's just a weird thing. I wish they were focusing more of their money towards putting out more games and more experiences on the console, because I do feel like them laying off so many of their cool and interesting Japanese studios that put out a lot of fun and unique titles on the platform has resulted in like one, maybe two big games a year that are exclusive to Sony. And for me, that's a huge bummer. And then again, I think there's been some of their practices, the Bungie acquisition, where they were like, okay, we're going to be planning 10 games of service in the next 5 years, where it's like, first off, ew, games of service. And second, what do you like? What does that mean for 9 out of those 10 games where a bunch of them? Obviously, they've walked that back now after layoffs and development closures, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like I feel like Sony got really cocky after how amazing the PlayStation 4 was and the great success of that console that they feel like they're walking on clouds. And hey, the PS5 is selling really well. Sony's can get away with it right now. I'm rooting for them. I want to see more killer games from them. So this isn't an anti Sony thing. I'm disappointed in them for this year. We're 3 years in, with a handful of PS5 exclusives. I
Yeah.
I would like to see more. PS4 was so good, so that's why I'm
Yeah,
giving
I
them a D
think in a
minus.
year filled with layoffs and like games of services just dying almost instantly on release, it's just so baffling to me that they've decided that they're going to go all in on this. I just see a lot of layoffs in the future and like a lot of people's lives being ruined so they could chase some sort of Fortnite dream for their shareholders. It's
Sure.
to me it's disgusting. Yeah, so um at the end of the day, Sony gets a 2.0 from me and a 2.33 from you.
Mm,
So it's like a C average.
okay.
So, okay. All right. On to Big N, Nintendo. All right. We'll start with the first party. So, for first party games, we have Fire Emblem Engage, Metroid Prime Remastered, Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, F-Zero 99, WarioWare Move It, Kirby's Return to Dreamland, Deluxe, Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp, Everybody's 1-2 Switch, Bait and Kaitos 1 and 2 HD Remaster, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Super Mario RPG, and Pokemon DLC. I give this an A. Absolutely outstanding year for first party for Nintendo. Two games in the Game of the Year nominee. It's crazy because I feel like they've been like overshadowed by some of the other stuff going on this year, but like they've had quite a dominant year with just the releases on the first party. It's yeah, quite impressive.
Yeah. I'm gonna give Nintendo an A plus on this one. I think that they basically had 10 plus first party exclusives this year, which is is basically a big release every month for the entire year that they've had. And they're basically on their seventh year, what might be their last year to year and a half, which is unheard of for most consoles. Usually you feel the software fizzle out as we lead up. Um, I think they crushed it. Did you mention? I wasn't sure. Did you mention Pikmin 1 and 2 on there as well that they
I did
remastered?
I didn't.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, that's another one that came out this year. So we also got the F-Zero 99 inside of the Switch online expansion, and yeah, cool stuff. I think this was possibly the best year in Switch's lifetime for first party. We got a AAA Mario. I know it's side scrolling, still AAA to me. It's still a big title. Get like you said, 2 Game of the Year nods. We got Zelda and Mario in the same year. And usually when you get a year like that, those are the two big things, and maybe there's a couple things sprinkled out throughout the year. It was every month. And yeah, a lot of those might be 8s to 8.5s, but they were solid games nonstop. So I'm giving them an A plus. This was a standout year for them, possibly the best year in the Switch's life cycle.
Absolutely. Totally agree. All right, on to third party. So I will list off some of the third party exclusives. They had Disney's Illusion Island,
Hmm.
Wargroove 2, These are console exclusives, obviously. Some of these are on PC. Vampire Survivors came to Switch and only Switch. Dragon Quest Masters Dark Prince, Trombone Champ, Detective Archives Raincode, Fae Farm, and Dave the Diver. Some of the third-party games that they got that were notable: Sea of Stars, Octopath Traveler 2. Um, I I went back and forth on this between a B and an A, and I ended up going with an A because I think they they had quite a few really good third-party games. I mean, more good third-party exclusives than any of the consoles, in my opinion. It's a huge get to get Vampire Survivors on Switch. It's a perfect place to play it. Dave the Diver's another one that's great. Um, yeah, and then Sea of Stars and Octopath Traveler 2 are just incredible games. So yeah, I have to go with an A for
Mm,
party as well.
excellent. I'm actually a little bit lower than you on this. I'm at a B plus for
Okay.
third party. There's a couple extra games that I want to mention. If you're a fan again of JRPGs, Switch is such a killer platform for it, and we got a bunch. We got some Trails games this year, which is a huge series. Colin's pretty. You're caught up, right, on Trails, or you're playing the most
Yeah.
current one?
Just finished the most current one.
Just
So
finished the
yeah.
most current, and it is a beloved series. I've played a little bit of the first game. Really cool, very character and story driven. They start off a little bit more classic JRPG style, and then the new series is a little bit more modern for you. We also got one of your favorite games, Colin, Paranorma Site. Another cool. I don't know.
Oh,
I missed if you mentioned that, but that's on the Switch as well, and I
I
know
did.
that was one of your favorite titles. So
Yes.
there is a lot of good offerings. I'm docking it a few points and giving it a B plus because it's a positive that we got some really cool big third party titles like Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat. What's the other one? There's another one. Hogwarts Legacy, Mortal Kombat. There's another one that came out this year.
I,
Oh, the I think it's the Batman Arkham trilogy.
oh,
And one of those games, I know that's a port of an older game. One of them, I heard two of the games run fantastic. There's one of them that I guess was notorious when it launched for having issues, but has major issues on the Switch. Hogwarts Legacy, I would not recommend on the Switch. The textures look muddied and washed out and bad frame rate. And I've heard they've done a lot of patching and made Mortal Kombat 1 a lot better than it was at launch, but still it's hard to recommend those bigger AAA third party offerings on the Switch. Obviously, if you don't own either of the other consoles, it's great to have them there even if they don't run that well. But again, for the reason that those big games are better on other hardware, and we are missing some big third party games like Liza P, Jedi Survivor. I'm gonna dock it down to a B plus.
fair enough. Yeah, I'm going to talk about those in the business decision
Mm,
section,
all right.
but that's fair. Absolutely fair. Okay, so business decisions. So I mean, Nintendo had kind of a quiet year on this front. Not too much has come out, but I will highlight a few things. Their dedication to remasters and ports. They had two very good showings this year as far as like their conferences go, and they've definitely made it important to get a lot of the back library games that are stuck on older consoles into onto the Switch, which I think is awesome. We're getting Paper Mario Thousand Year Door next year. We got Super Mario RPG, a game we thought we'd never see again on modern day consoles, unless it's like through like the virtual console style
Mm-hmm.
or Nintendo Switch Online. So that was a huge surprise. Um, I think letting Game Freak release new Pokemon DLC without actually fixing the issues with their game. I know they don't have full control, but as the publisher, I feel like they should have, maybe gotten a team to kind of fix a lot of the issues with Scarlet and Violet. Like, it's kind of untenable, like how bad that game runs at some points.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like one of their tentpoles. And then you may disagree with me. I think the longer they take to launch their new console, the more and more third parties they're missing out on, and that's, we're getting ports like Mortal Kombat and like Hogwarts Legacy that are running suboptimal. I think I think, next year is going to be the year, but I think that they could have maybe had something ready sooner. And I think this would have been a good year to launch because I mean, besides their developed games and like these like small indie JRPGs, it's starting to show its age really bad.
Hmm.
Uh, and it's like, yeah, it's getting to a point like almost like the N64 days where like publishers don't want to put games on this thing. So we'll see. I gave them a C overall. I think it was a pretty neutral year for them on business decisions, all in all. So, yeah, that's my score for that.
All right. I gave Nintendo a B plus on business decisions. Um, so there are a few things that are happening right now that I'm super excited about or cautiously optimistic about. Their entry into more not just solely gaming but also entertainment with the Mario movie and the recent announcement of the Zelda movie. And I have Zelda's my favorite series of all time. I am very nervous about a Zelda movie, but reading up on it and hearing things like this has been something that's been really well thought out by Miyamoto and Nintendo over the last decade. And the director, even though he's based on his resume, isn't to me ideal. Hearing him talk about it and the fact that he's such a huge fan and him saying that like I don't want to copy Lord of the Rings, I want to make something that kind of blends the world of Miyazaki with The Legend of Zelda. That gives me a lot of hope that Nintendo's cooking something cool. And it excites me that we're going to be getting what seems like a Nintendo cinematic universe. Mario movies, Zelda movies, and who knows what else is left to be announced. We also got the theme park opening at the beginning of this year, which is super cool. I know they're expanding that theme park in both Japan and Florida to have a full Donkey Kong Country Land with a roller coaster and some of that more like entertainment stuff is, as a Nintendo fan, super exciting to me. I also love that as far as like their releases, Nintendo's been so good about not giving in to this games as service model. And again, this is more of something that they're not doing this year, but the fact that every company and their dog has done it so much, there's just so much predatory microtransactions and games as service models that are just being thrown at us left and right in studio shutdowns. That it just makes me super happy to see that, like, in an age where it's so prevalent, they are still holding true to not doing that and not nickel and diming when it comes to their software content and what's available at launch. They're releasing full polished games, and I love that. Another thing is that I'm knocking Nintendo some points. Yes, their hardware is showing some age. It probably would have been nice to get a Pro at the very least,
Mhm.
but I think the OLED has been a serviceable upgrade. Playing in handheld is awesome, especially for indie and Nintendo specific games. But yeah, I'm feeling a little bit of the age of the hardware right now, and that has been a bummer without some sort of a pro to kind of make some of those third party offerings a little bit more tantalizing as a Nintendo fan. Also, I know when it comes to like Nintendo's practices, when it comes to some of the tournament scene and like the esports stuff, they could be a little bit, a little bit cruel or tricky.
I
But
lost-
sorry.
Oh, never mind.
Oh,
Good.
but yeah, no, I don't know. That's where I stand. I think overall they've done a really good job with a few misses this year, but like when I compare it to a lot of the other, especially a lot of the other publishers and developers and the decisions that they're making, I'm like, that was doing pretty good.
You know, you actually swayed me a little. I didn't consider the theme park stuff. I didn't consider the fact that, they aren't doing games of service. I am actually
Mm.
going to amend my C into a B. Nintendo came in and did a little extra credit. So,
There we go.
yes. So overall, you gave Nintendo a 3.33, and our highest GPA this round is 3.67 from me for Nintendo.
All right.
So great job, Nintendo.
So
I think
let's go. Let's do the letter grades for all three. What do we got?
letter grades.
Official letter grade. What would we stamp it with the averages?
So Microsoft with a B, Sony with a, I guess, yeah, that's a low C, so a C, and then Nintendo with a looks like a B plus. Bridge.
All right, there we go. And
Yeah.
then we're coming up, or we just hit an hour. So real quick before we say goodbye, I want to ask you, and I'll give my answer as well afterwards. What are you looking forward to from each company next year?
Okay.
Like, what are you
So yeah,
excited about?
I'll try to be quick. Yes, so for Sony, definitely it's going to be Final Fantasy Rebirth and Rise of the Ronin. Those are like the two most anticipated games. Everything else is a big question mark for them. So yeah, not too super excited for Sony, but they may surprise me, not with games of services, but something else. Um, so for Nintendo, it's obviously on everyone's mind, and I'm sure we'll do an episode on this, is the upcoming new hardware. I'm really excited to get my hands on something new from Nintendo. And then, the heavily rumored 3D Mario that's going to come with it. But the things that we do know about, I'm super excited for that Princess Peach game. It looks
Sure.
awesome. And then, Thousand Year Door is a game that I never got to play, and I'm just ecstatic that I finally get a chance to play it on a modern day console. So
Right.
yeah, and God, it looks so good. It's gonna look great on the OLED. And then for Microsoft, I am so excited for Avowed. I'm hoping we get a release date for Fable next year. Clockwork Revolution looks great. I mean, everything they showed at that presentation. I can't wait to play Metaphor ReFantazio. So yeah, I'm definitely those are all games I'm super excited about. And if they continue what they're doing with Yakuza, I'm pretty sure that Infinite Wealth will be a day one Game Pass game for
Mm-hmm.
me. So super excited for all that. What about you?
Yeah, I'll start with the big N. Like you said, their talk of new hardware is rampant. You know, we're coming up on the end of, or we're coming up on year 7. We'll be going into year 8 basically next year. So like things are happening behind the scenes. There's so many rumors swirling around, and anytime there's a new console that's about to be announced or that gets dropped, it's just such an exciting game. So I'm excited to see what Nintendo has in store for all of us, all us gamers, and to see like if this is something that's launching next year, next summer, next holiday, like what are going to be the big launch titles? Are we getting that heavily rumored big new 3D open world Mario? Are we going to get Prime 4 as a cross gen experience?
So
It's exciting stuff from Nintendo. Also, like you mentioned, Thousand Year Door. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Huge Paper Mario fan. They've never come close to Thousand Year Door in my opinion. Like you said, the game looks gorgeous. Can't wait to play that. Princess Peach game looks amazing. I am sad that Deca Police got postponed to possibly early 2025. But to me, that reiterates that Switch 2, whatever the Switch successor is coming because they probably want to optimize. Just speculation, but to me, that it sounds like they're gonna do probably a dual release for that one.
yeah.
Microsoft, they're they haven't had much as far as like big first party games, but we know a lot's coming because they've been showing off a lot of stuff over the last, handful of years. So like you said, Fable, Avowed, what's the other big one? There's Outer Worlds 2 as
Yeah,
well that's in development. Hellblade.
yeah.
So there's four big ones. I feel like I'm missing something though. But we know they've done a lot of acquisitions. We know that they have a lot of stuff in development. They've showed off a ton of stuff. If Microsoft is able to deliver on a handful of those games we've already seen and we've already been promised, they're in for a solid year. Those games just have to be good. That's all they have to be.
Yeah.
And then Sony, I'm gonna double down on what you said. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. So excited for that game, as well as Rise of the Ronin. Those are the two big ones from Sony. They haven't done a lot to tease things that I'd be excited about, but I'm hoping that with next year's big showcase that they'll be able to show more than just another Last of Us remake or games of service.
Horizon 3.
Horizon 3.
Yeah.
And then Last of Us 2 remake, remastered, restored
Yes.
is my
Yeah.
big prediction. But no,
Yeah.
I want to add one more for Sony because there is something I'm very excited about on the Sony front that I forgot about. Wolverine.
Yeah.
We'll probably finally get to see Wolverine next year. I don't expect that game until 2025, the earliest, but I'm really excited to see it. I'm a big X-Men fan since I was a kid with the 90s cartoon, so I'm all about that Wolverine. Can't wait to see that. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. Anything else you want to add, Colin?
No, no, I think we covered it.
All right, then thank you guys so much. It was a fun show. I had a great time. I'm guessing you had fun too, Colin.
Absolutely. We got to do some.
Awesome.
That was
If
cool.
if you guys enjoyed this discussion and you enjoy this content, hit that like button. It helps the channel out. Or you could smash the subscription button down below. Or if you dislike it,
Go in and hit the dislike button and argue with us in the comments.
we
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. I'll see you all on the next GameBird Weekly. Peace.
See you then.